Field in New York. Pix 11 presents New York Mets baseball tonight. The Mets play the Miami Marlins. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Nissan. Save big at the Nissan Tech for All sales event. Shop ChooseNissan.com. By Spectrum, TV the way you want it. More HD, more on demand. Get it now at Spectrum.com. By the Lincoln Spring Sales Event. Drive into spring in a new Lincoln. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Mattress Firm, where your budget stretches further. And by your tri-state area Land Rover retailers, Land Rover above and beyond. Well, unlike yesterday, today Jose Bautista gets an entire pregame to warm himself up for the game, as opposed to racing in from the airport. It's a beautiful night, perfect day to say goodbye for a while to your best friends, because Mets are heading on the road when this game comes to an end. So long. Adam Pleasant, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play the rubber game of their series against the Miami Marlins. The Mets are 4 games over 500. They face a stretch now of 6 straight games against right-handed pitching, and hoping to get the big left-handed bats in their lineup going. It's been a real struggle for Jay Bruce and Michael Conforto.
You know, Gary, every team has injuries, and with Cespedes and Frazier out, it's vital that these two bats get going. You thought that Michael Conforto would be the most consistent of the two. He has not been. He's been kind of streaky, and Jay Bruce has not had that kind of streak that he usually has in his career that can sometimes carry a team for a month.
The most reliable force the Mets have had this year is the right arm of Jacob DeGrom, who tonight goes for his 50th career victory.
You know, if you're a Mets fan, you're at a beautiful place with Jacob DeGrom. He's at the top of his game. He's averaging 12 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched, a 5-to-1 ratio from strikeouts to walks. Every pitch has a purpose. Every pitch coming out of the right tunnel. He's been perfect so far.
No walks, 13 strikeouts his last start against Arizona. He's on an incredible roll. Meanwhile, Dan Straley has been the best the Marlins have had since coming off the disabled list.
You know, both of his wins have come against the Braves, a great hitting ball club this year. And in 3 starts against the Mets in his career, his ERA is under 2. So he's been strong against the Mets.
Just the 5th start of the year for Straley. He goes up against DeGrom in a matchup of aces. Rubber game of the series on a gorgeous night in New York. All the action coming your way on Pix 11. Lottery. Play all 4 of the new Mayhem scratch-off games from the New York Lottery. Download the app, play for free, start your streak, and compete to win $5.6 million. Download Beat the Streak today in the App Store or on MLB.com/BTS. Themes of the game brought to you by your Tri-State Ford dealer.
So the person who's never seen a Star Wars movie has a Star Wars theme. May the force be with you, DeGrom. 0 for 18 with runners in scoring position. Chewbacca, 3 balks this season. That's tied for the 4th most in Major League Baseball. And the Empire strikes out. The Mets pitchers can strike you out.
You've never seen any of them?
Any of them.
I at least saw the original one.
None.
Haven't seen any since.
0.
1977. It's been a long time. Star Wars. Lost on this booth. Don't know how that can be. Mets and Marlins. DeGrom's first pitch coming right up. Jacob DeGrom's last start was remarkable against Arizona. You know why? Because he gave up a run. He had gone 24 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings before that Jake Lamb RBI double. And he is Who's Hot, brought to you by Geico. Coming off 13 strikeout, no walk performance, only the 9th time in Mets history that's happened. First since Chris Capuano in 2011 at 13 strikeouts and no walk.
That was a complete game shutout for Capuano.
Marlins lineup brought to you by Fios. Visit getfios.com. Day off for Martin Prado, who's really struggled. So Derek Dietrich moves up to the leadoff spot, and J.B. Shuck gets a start in right field as Brian Anderson moves back to his natural position at third base for the finale of this series.
Okay, here's Jacob DeGrom's numbers. We have sang his praises this entire Open. The only caveat for you Mets fans, his kryptonite has really been the Miami Marlins. 4-4, ERA approaching 4 against the Fish. Defensively for the Mets, I'll concentrate on Mesoraco. In his career, 24% of the base runners he's thrown out trying to steal, and 23 pass balls and 352 games. And in the outfield, you're going to see the same guys. We talked a lot about Conforto and Bruce have to get it going, and Nimmo has been a breath of fresh air. But Mets defense brought to you by the New York Lottery.
Derek Dietrich will lead things off. Dietrich put the finishing touches on the Marlins win last night with a 2-run homer off A.J. Ramos in the 8th.
Well, Ramos's first mistake was walking the leadoff hitter, and then a right down the middle pitch to Dietrich, who always seems to get some big hits against the Mets. He's a scrappy player with a lot of energy that can be very irritating to the opposing team, but I bet you if you play with him, you love him. Like an Eric Burns kind of type, you know, that real hustler.
Mets had beaten the Marlins 4 straight times before the Marlins evened up this series last night, and now DeGrom gets the rubber game. Ronnie mentioned his problems with the Marlins. April 10th in Miami, gave up 4 runs in 6 innings. Eventually a no decision for him, a game the Mets rallied to win late. Dietrich, Realmuto, and Bohr for the Marlins in the opening inning. And DeGrom getting ready to get this one started. 81 degrees at game time. How nice to say that. And a fastball in for a strike at 97. We're underway. Dietrich 3 for 6 in this series, a double and a home run, hitting .255 for the year. And he is hit by a pitch. That's something that happens often. Dietrich, who led the National League in hit batsmen 2 years ago with 24, hit 18 more times last year, and now already 7 times this season.
Well, he just doesn't get out of the way. He holds his ground and stays in there and catches it right off the guard that's protecting his elbow. There's a reason he wears that. If there was no protection, he would not stay in there and would get out of the way.
I mean, that one hurt even with the guard, hit by a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Imagine if he had not been wearing the guard.
Well, if you're going to hit a batter, you hope it always hurts.
Only the second batter DeGrom has hit this year, so a leadoff base runner for the Marlins. And now JT Realmuto, who's 3 for 9 in this series with a couple of runs driven in. And first pitch fastball off the plate, ball 1. Kerwin Danley, the crew chief, calling the balls and strikes tonight. Here's Kerwin with his crew, Chad Fairchild, Bruce Streckman, and Mike Estabrook, who called a lot of strikes and earned a lot of hard feelings from the hitters last night. Slider fouled off, and it's 1-1 to Realmuto.
Realmuto had a strange game last night. A very effective game. 3 hits and a couple RBIs. But I swear he didn't hit a ball on center cut all evening long.
Broken bat bloop in the first inning. A 17 hopper up the middle in the second. And then he lined one into left in the 7th. Hit a little bit sharper than the other 2. Mesoraco staying inside against Realmuto, and a fastball in for a strike. By the way, DeGrom and Mesoraco working together for the 3rd straight start. Do you know that Jacob DeGrom and Devin Mesoraco were born on the same day?
Oh,
June 19th, 1988.
That's almost not fair. It's like
they both get to celebrate each other's 30th birthday next month.
It's like twins.
1-2 coming. And a fly ball out to right center. Bruce is over there to pick it off for the first out of the night. By the way, that has happened before in Mets history. Bobby Jones and Alberto Castillo were born on the same day, February 10th, 1970. And they were a battery together back in the 90s.
I thought you were going to say me and Mackie Sasser.
No, I wouldn't say
have
that.
to quit.
Mac could hit.
He could hit. He could break. And he's hilarious too.
And he turned into a really good college baseball coach too.
He was.
Wasn't he T.J. Rivera's coach in college?
Yes.
Here's Justin Bohr, who has had DeGrom's number, hit a home run against him in Miami in April, and a check swing foul at the plate, 0-1.
You know, you're talking about DeGrom, Mesoraco, how well they've worked these last 2 games. Coming into this game, I know it's small sample. Mesoraco's caught 62 innings, and the Mets pitchers ERA is 2.03. I know that can be sometimes happenstance, but it still is a good number.
Bohr 7 for 15 with 2 home runs against DeGrom, and the Mets put the full shift on against him.
DeGrom, when he faces Bohr and gets him out, throws a lot of sliders down and in the dirt. Stays away from that up and away area. Bohr has some power, big power to left field.
Jake ahead 0-2. And he fouls off the 98-mile-an-hour fastball to hang in there. Mets are playing the shift with Guillorme, the third baseman, alone on the left side. And Guillorme is setting up very strangely, kind of side saddling, facing third base. Watch how he sets his feet before the pitch is thrown.
It's because he's in the shadows and that light is on the field right now.
I mean, right before the pitch is thrown, he evens up his feet.
Yeah.
But he's got the offset, which I've never seen an infielder set up that way before.
Yeah. There's some shadows playing a part at shortstop position and through out to left center field. I don't know how that'll affect the infielders and outfielders.
He's standing right in that sunbeam right now. 0-2 coming, and he struck him out with a curveball. DeGrom takes care of Bohr for his first strikeout of the night. 2 out.
Well, he just rushes them, bullies them inside with the fastball, and then counters with a breaking ball that starts in the same spot and ends up in the dirt.
So 2 out. Dietrich still at first after the leadoff hit by pitch, and now Starlin Castro, who's 3 for 8 in this series. Castro already with 54 hits through the Marlins' first 48 games. And he's had good numbers against DeGrom, 5 for 12 in his career. You know, horses for courses sometimes, and you know, although the most spectacular beginning of a start in DeGrom's career came against the Marlins. Remember the 8 straight strikeouts?
That's right.
He's not really had a great run against them.
Watch the grip on the breaking ball. It's got that finger tucked under, and look at that middle finger. Sorry, the third finger, ring finger on the right side, kind of crossed over the pinky. That's very unusual.
How would it normally be?
Well, usually you'd have it, and he has it tucked underneath, and you're on top of it. But you would just have this kind of resting. But he has it intertwined where they're overlapped. That's
with the ring finger and the pinky
I've
on
never
top of each other.
I've never seen that.
Mets got the call on the half swing. 2-1 to Castro. And he flies one out to right center. Bruce angling in. Conforto didn't see it well, so Bruce takes care of it, and that retires the side. Now there's the grip on that curveball that DeGrom used to strike out Bohr. Nice spin rate, even in slow motion. Howdy dealer. Michael Conforto moves up to the 3 spot with Jay Bruce hitting cleanup tonight. Devin Mesoraco back in the lineup after sitting last night. Luis Guillorme gets his 4th start as he plays 3rd. Just can't tell you how spectacular this weather is tonight.
It's a dream. Dan Straley, you see his numbers. His last 3 years, including one in Cincinnati 2 years ago, he's 26 and 17 in those last 3, and the Marlins are 4-0 in his 4 starts.
Nimmo 0 for 7 in this series. His on-base percentage still up at a very impressive 410. There he is.
What is that surrounding his face?
It looks like a
turd.
Oh, ouch. Oh, it's Nemo.
Yeah.
It's a Nemo.
Never seen that movie either.
Really?
No.
It's a good one. Ellen DeGeneres, the whole thing. Popped up near the mound. Moore racing in to call off everybody else, and he makes the play.
Well, Toyota wants us to go places, so let's go to the defense here with Real Muto. I was giving the numbers on Mesoraco. He's thrown out 32% of the runners trying to steal in his career. The outfield, Brinson robbed Conforto last night of a ball to left center field. Schuck is a good defensive player. Dietrich is an infielder trying to play in the outfield.
Now is Drupal Cabrera, 2 for 8 in this series. Starts the night 7th in the National League with a .317 batting average, and takes a fastball for a strike. 14 doubles, is 4th in the league. 53 hits, 7th in the league. You get the idea. Good changeup by Strelly, and it's 0-2. Dan Strelly developed some forearm inflammation late in spring training, so he didn't throw his first big league pitch this year till April 30th. That's why he's only made 4 prior starts. But his last one was his best yet. 7 scoreless innings against the highest scoring team in the league, the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, both his wins against the Braves this year. Big shift against Cabrera.
Strelly now 29 years old, 2nd year with the Marlins. And Cabrera fouls back the fastball.
He won 14 games a couple of years ago with the Cincinnati Reds. And he said going into the season he had a friend who was in the financial industry. And he had him run some algorithms to try to see if there was a way he could be more successful with the usage of his pitches. And he went out and won 14 games.
Well, Strelly has had a number of things that he's had to do to get to the point he's at. He's one of the early guys who went out to the Driveline Baseball Academy.
Yeah.
Became an advocate of using the weighted balls to try to transfer weight better from his trunk to his arm to develop better velocity, and it worked for him. 2-2 to Cabrera.
I would be so fascinated with all the outlets and places you could go to better yourself now. We just did not have that in the day. You know, and when you came up to the major leagues, you better have been close to a finished product. There was not a lot of development. I can't remember 5 conversations with Mel Stottlemyre or Dave Duncan about mechanics of pitching. 5 or 6. Can't even remember.
2-2 coming. And the foul tip held by Real Muto, and on the 8th pitch of the at-bat, Strelly fans Cabrera, 2 men down. So 2 out now, Conforto. Michael took an 0 for 4 last night. Might have been slightly better, but for that great play Brinson made against him in the 7th inning last night. Ball that probably would have hit right on the orange line at the top of the fence, but Brinson, who has tremendous speed, made a fine play. It looked on the last road trip as though Conforto had found his way out of the woods. Remember, he had that 4-hit game in Philadelphia, and then he hit a go-ahead home run.
That's what I was talking about in the open about. I never think of Michael as streaky. I think of him as a consistent guy who takes some consistent at bats, but he's been more streaky early on this year.
Strelly falls behind at 3-0. Strelly has had a problem with walks early this year. Came into the night with 14 walks in 20 innings, which is uncharacteristic for him.
And unlike Estabrook, Mike Estabrook's home plate umpire last night, Kerwin Danley is more of a hitter's umpire. He doesn't hunt strikes, doesn't commit to strikes. That's Mike.
And Conforto takes it high, and the Mets have their first base runner of the night, a 2-out walk.
There we go.
Well, there you see the heat maps in the dugout. We showed these last night, showing where umpires are inclined to call more strikes.
Yeah, last night the right-hander's outside corner was all red. This heat maps the left-handers is all red off the corner away.
And the right-hander's inside. Here's Jay Bruce. And the fastball misses away, ball one.
More of a lukewarm map with Kerwin.
Jay stuck on 3 home runs in his first 142 at bats this season after hitting 36 last year. And I'll repeat the stat we gave last night because it is just so incredible. Through the first 44 games, the Mets have had 1 home run from a cleanup batter, and that was by Bruce on April the 5th in Washington. It's the only one.
Well, this is a good mark for the left-handers here. Not that Straley doesn't have good stuff, he does, but he doesn't have overpowering stuff, so he's got to be pretty precise. If he's not, you're going to get some pitches to hit.
Behind both left-hand hitters, and now Bruce drives one to right, but Shuck comes in to get it, and that retires the side. So Straley works around the 2-out walk. No score after 1 at Citi Field. Pitching has been phenomenal. Justin Verlander, 6 innings, 3 hits today. They beat the Giants 4-1. Asked the Braves and Phillies playing for the 12th time before the end of May. That's amazing. Shohei Ohtani has done everything you could possibly ask a player to do as a pitcher and as a hitter in his rookie year. Brian Anderson takes one that sails to the backstop for ball 1. Anderson playing third base tonight after playing right field the first 2 games of this series. Prado sits tonight. The other thing that happened this afternoon was that Milwaukee completed a sweep of Arizona. The Diamondbacks just left here. They've now lost 13 of their last 14, and they're now just 1 game over 500. A little liner to shortstop, and Rosario plucks it for the first down. On the other side, the Mets are about to play the Brewers. Mets upcoming schedule brought to you by Bob's. Everything's better with a Bobopedic. Find out why at mybobs.com. The Brewers now have 31 wins, more than anybody else in the National League. Then the Mets go to Atlanta for 4. Braves have the 2nd best record in the league, and then the Mets come home to play the Cubs. So the schedule gets a little more formidable starting tomorrow night.
Yes, it does. And the Brewers are 10-3 in their last 13.
Miguel Rojas takes ball 1. Rojas 2 for 7 in this series. Brewers without Eric Thames and Ryan Braun. Braun could be back this weekend. They still haven't figured that out yet. But the guy who was playing in their stead, Jesus Aguilar, who we've seen before and has always hit, he has just been on fire. 3 more RBIs today.
They say as he plays more too, he's getting a little more depth at playing first base, a little more nimble.
Think about Josh Hader's gotten all the headlines, but Jeremy Jeffress has an 0.35 ERA.
He's given up a run in 21 innings or so. Knable with the save last night.
Matt Albers has been great. Dan Jennings has been really good.
That's 2 years in a row for Matt Albers. 2 solid seasons.
It's in the Cologne School of Conditioning.
That's, well, whatever works. It's Jose.
Two to Rojas with JB Shuck on deck. Fouls back the fastball. Rojas has turned into a really tough out.
Yes, he is. He's a serious player, and his swing has gotten shorter. He used to be very susceptible to breaking balls off the plate, and his defense is impeccable at short.
Shorter swing, and he's hitting more home runs. Skips in, full count.
Control is a little off for DeGrom here early in the game.
First full count of the night, and he misses outside, and Rojas is on with a walk. So after DeGrom did not walk a batter in his last start against Arizona, he issues one in the second inning tonight.
Yeah, he's hit a batter, walked a batter, shake of his head.
Well, it's never come easily for Jake against the Marlins. Now he'll face the number 7 hitter JB Shuck, getting his first start of this series.
Remember that start he had against the Phillies where he threw 45 pitches in that first inning? He said that when he does struggle, he tends to pull the ball, hold on to it too long, so it ends up in the left-hand batter's box to right-handed hitters. That's what he just did.
That's what he did with Dietrich too, when he hit him with the pitch.
There you go. Rojas got back to first, and while he was fiddling with his gloves.
Still fiddling. JB Shuck, 30-year-old journeyman from Ohio State, takes a strike. Shuck playing with his 5th different team. Never played in the big leagues last year, but signed with the Marlins. Got called up the second week of the season, making his 10th start tonight. Lewis Brinson on deck. And he flies one out to left. Nimmo's right there. 2 out. Rojas back to first. So now Lewis Brinson, who has really struggled. I mean, 0 for 8 in this series with 4 strikeouts, and in the 2 series against the Mets, 0 for 17 with 8 strikeouts against Mets pitching.
Well, he's a young kid that probably needs more seasoning, but they're a team that doesn't have enough players, so they're going to try to ride the wave, and hopefully he figures it out.
So where, I guess, is the line between letting a guy find himself at this level and risking blowing his confidence for the long term?
When he hangs his head. First time if you're the manager and he starts to hang his head, kind of woe is me, that's the time.
I mean, you remember, this is now 4 or 5 years ago, when we went to Minnesota and Aaron Hicks had been called up by the Twins to play center field every day, and he struggled just like this.
That's right.
And it really took him 2 or 3 years to get back to being a viable player. Now he's a very good player, but you wonder sometimes how much is too much in terms of a young player's struggle. For instance, at 163 at bats this year.
Again with another one almost in the booth here, Gary. I think it can be done. I think we can get one in the booth.
This is the 10th year we've been here,
yeah,
and nobody's gotten one in yet.
It's very close. I'll take one off that waffles Al. That'll be fine with me.
See, now it doesn't count if it bounces off Al into the booth.
Absolutely, especially if it draws a little blood out.
Wow. Slider just off the corner. Everybody on the field was moving off toward the dugout, thinking DeGrom had strike 3.
I mentioned before, Kerwin Danley is more, how would you call it? He wants to see that ball on the plate. Hitter friendly.
He's not hunting strike.
He's not.
Rojas at first and 2 down. 1-2 to Brinson. And checking on Rojas, who has 2 steals and 3 tries this year.
And that's interesting to me because I find that crews tend to call the game about the same.
And Brinson goes down on the slider. Second strikeout for DeGrom, and that gets him through the top of the second. A walk in, 1 left, and Brinson's strikeout woes continue. No score in the bottom of the second. View coming in off the harbor.
Freedom Tower.
What a nice city.
You can take that ferry straight over to Liberty National Golf Course, Gary, if you ever want to play 18.
Have you ever known me to play 18 or even 9? No. I'm more at home amongst the buildings.
There you go.
Not the putting green. Devin Mesoraco leads off for New York in the home second. Mesoraco 1 for 5 in this series. Didn't start last night after getting whacked in the elbow in the first game, but came off the bench and flied out in his only at bat. And takes a slider from Straley for a strike. Mesoraco and Straley were teammates in Cincinnati, but Mesoraco was hurt so much he couldn't have caught Straley very much.
I was shocked when you told me that Mesoraco was 29 today. I thought he was a little older.
Be 30 next month.
But it makes a big difference if you're drafted out of high school as opposed to college, you know?
Mesoraco was drafted in 2007.
Whoa.
Coming out of Punxsutawney, PA. And the breaking ball popped up. Board, the only man on that side of the infield, has it lined up. 1 out. You know, I think that over the course of this season, it's probably likely that I'll mention Devin Mesoraco's hometown more than anybody else's. Just as I love saying it.
It just rolls off the tongue.
Punxsutawney.
Yeah, it's nice.
I mean, just all the, you know, the connections with Bill Murray and Groundhog Day.
Let's hope he has a big year. When he has a big year before spring training, we send Gelbsy to Punxsutawney to do the hit.
That'd be fantastic. It's a lot closer than the Dominican.
Oh, nice catch by Real Muto there. Caught it on the rebound.
Adrian Gonzalez came off the bench last night and drilled a double in his only at bat. 1 for 4 in this series. Takes up and away 1-1.
You did not know what to expect from Adrian, so I feel like you've gotten more from him at this point than you thought you would get, right? 5 homers, 20 RBIs, sun is shining on him.
Well, think about this. The Mets have now signed 2 former All-Stars who were released by the Atlanta Braves.
Oh, that's right.
Gonzalez and Batista.
That's right.
That's hit up the middle, a base hit. With Castro over in the hole and the shortstop Rojas not shaded over to that side. Big hole for Gonzalez to poke it through, and he did.
Well, nice hitting by Gonzalez, and the second most athletic play was by Bruce Streckman to get out of the way. Second base umpire.
See, now here's the thing about the shift in that spot. If they're going to throw a breaking ball, wouldn't you think that they would move the shortstop over to the right side?
Totally agree, because you're pitching into the shift, so get as many people on the right side of second base.
Here's Luis Guillorme, and he takes a strike. Guillorme 4 for 14 to start his big league career. Yeah, we were asking about Mesoraco catching Straley only twice during the year that Straley was in Cincinnati for less than 8 innings. Straley had a really good year that year. 14 and 8, 3.76 in that ballpark.
Strong.
That's very good. Last year with the Marlins, 10 and 9, 4.26 and 182 innings. It was a nice workhorse for them. And Guillorme down on 3 pitches. Second strikeout for Straley and the second out of the inning.
Fastball, curveball, fastball.
And now one of the Mets non-swinging pitchers will come to the plate. DeGrom has not swung the bat since suffering the hyperextended elbow on a swing. And let's see if the Marlins figure out that he can't swing.
Did we just miss that they were moving outfielders, shifting outfielders?
Yeah, Shuck I think was over and left, and Dietrich and right, and they just moved back to their proper position.
They just did the Rusty Staub Clint Hurdle move.
I guess figuring Guillorme as an opposite field hitter, one of the stronger defenders, Shuck in left. And DeGrom does swing the bat. So first time since he got hurt, DeGrom is let loose. I'm assuming that that's okay with Mickey. Although he did say earlier this year he'd prefer that none of his pitchers ever swung the bat. I think he might have been being a little facetious.
He would have come out of that chair if DeGrom had the stop light.
In the bottom of the third, Mets pitching coach Dave Eiland will join us from the dugout. It'll be fascinating to hear his thoughts about Jacob DeGrom and the rest of the staff. And Jake takes a fastball for strike 3 called, and the inning is over. Third strikeout for Straley, no score after 2. You know, it's really sad if you're a Miami Marlins fans, and you know,
right.
I don't know how many people that encompasses in the world, but you've had your entire team taken away from you how many different times? They won a championship in 1997. They destroyed the team the following year.
Right.
They won a championship in 2003, destroyed the team again. Last year, they've got the best outfield in baseball. Now they're all gone. I mean, it's got to be very difficult as a franchise and as a fan of the franchise to maintain your loyalty when they keep blowing up the team.
Well, what I find funny, and there's the franchise history, is when you blow up a team like that with players that are that good, what you're saying to your fan base is we're going to trade for young players that are going to be this good someday. Someone's going to be as good as Stanton and Ozuna.
How about just finding some better
Yelich?
pitching? How about that?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard because those players were so fun to watch and so talented. And of course, D.
Who just got hurt again, by the way.
Oh, he hurt his toe, or
Yeah, broke his toe after they had moved him to second base to take Cano's spot after Cano got suspended.
Apparently, he's not going to miss a ton of time. We'll see.
I don't know.
Speed player with a broken toe.
Strike three. I mean, Lagares' broken toe is keeping him out for the year. Or it's not a broken toe, it's a tear in his toe.
Yeah.
But D. Gordon now with a broken toe. And, you know, you talk about the dynamic players in the game, and D. Gordon is one of those guys. We will never forget the night that they returned to Miami after Jose Fernandez passed away, and the home run he hit against Bartolo Colon.
Second pitch of the night after he took the first pitch with a right-handed helmet in homage to Mr. Fernandez.
1-1 to Derek Dietrich, who was hit on the elbow by a pitch his first time up. I guess the counter argument to what we're talking about is that last year, with all those players, the Marlins had a losing record and nobody came to watch them play. Dietrich gets tied up and stops it in time, 3-1.
Yeah, that's a big caveat too.
Right.
So.
And now with new ownership, their decision was, we're not going to win with this group. Let's get what we can. Let's pare down the payroll and start from scratch. It's strike 3 and 2.
That's that heat map, right? Pitch away to Dietrich, called a strike by Danley. Nice. Are we allowed to show that? Well, it doesn't matter. We are.
Always better to apologize than ask permission.
By the way, we apologize a lot. For 13 years we've been doing this. Very good at it.
I don't think it's a secret, by the way. You can look those up online. 3-2 coming to Dietrich, and he struck him out with the fastball. 3 strikeouts in a row for DeGrom, was just getting cooking.
Well, this is the pitch that really, I wouldn't say transformed him. It's just you make adjustments as a pitcher as you go on in your career. Change to what the hitters are trying to do, and that elevated fastball is a big part of his game now.
It's interesting when you look at DeGrom's career and the ratio of 4-seam fastballs and 2-seam fastballs, as that one's hit right at Rosario, and the ratio of 4-seam fastballs has gone up every year to the point now where he barely throws his 2-seamer at all. When we come back, pitching coach Dave Eiland joins us from the Mets dugout. No score. That's pitching coach Dave Eiland. Dave, it's Gary and Ron up in the booth. You know, as we watch Jacob DeGrom tonight, I'm wondering, what have you learned about Jake that you might not have known before he took the job?
Well, I think that just how he raises his competitiveness when he gets in a little bit of a jam out there. Not that he gets in too many of them, but I think we saw in Philadelphia a week ago, the first inning, the bases loaded, down in Washington, bases loaded both times with no outs, and he just he rose it, and he rose up and took it to a different level, and got out of it with no problem. So I just think it's his ability to take it to another level when he gets in a little bit of a bind.
You know, Dave, you spent a lot of the offseason looking at these guys on tape, trying to figure out their tendencies and how to work with them. What was the biggest difference between what you saw on tape and what you saw from the pitcher?
Well, I mean, on tape you see the stuff. You see how good it is, you know, the arm strength, but you know, until you get with them and you get around them for a little while, not just in spring training, but when you get here, when the bell actually rings and things make it and it's official, you learn their pitchability. You know, do they know how to use their secondary pitches and fastball counts? What happens to them when they get in big moments? So you really don't find that out until you get up here and the lights are a little bit brighter. So that was, you know, it's more than just stuff. I think we all realize that.
How do you help your pitchers as they go through? DeGrom's a different pitcher, ground out here from Rosario to third baseman. How do you help your pitchers as they make the adjustments to how the hitters have made adjustments in the last couple of seasons?
Yeah, I mean, you have to continue to talk to them. You have to talk about it. You have to point things out. You can't assume anything. There's a lot of watching on film to back up what you're saying, and you talk to the guys on the days they're not pitching, when their teammates are out there pitching, and you know, you can learn a lot from watching, but you have to communicate with them at all times, and continue to have those ongoing conversations. And like I said, I think the most important thing is never assume that they're understanding something.
Dave, I think that there's been a great stress toward accountability, not just for the pitching staff, but this entire team this year. How do you feel as though the staff has reacted to hearing a new voice and maybe a different kind of a voice?
Well, I would hope they've acted pretty well to it, and I think they have. But you know, I've been around a lot of good players as a player and as a coach. I've been fortunate to be around a lot of good players, a lot of championship players, and all the good ones want to be held accountable. All the good ones want information. What can you do? What can you give me to make me better? So they've really taken to it. At least my group has anyway. I can't speak for any other areas, but you know, I'm very fortunate to have the group that I have, that they want to learn, they want to get better, they want to compete, and most importantly, they want to win.
You know, Dave, when you look at the team, Mickey Callaway was saying today that Jacob DeGrom would be an ace on just about any ball club, and Syndergaard certainly pitches at a high level. That's a great 1-2 punch. But it's the 3, 4, 5 sometimes, you know this better than I do, that can play such an important part in a team being successful and going on big streaks.
There's no doubt. I mean, you have to win more than 2 out of every 5 games. You know, the way I look at it all the time is, you know, you have to come out and try and get 27 outs every night and try and win every inning. And if you lose 1 or 2 innings, that's fine, but you got to keep it to, you know, they scratch out a run against you, you know, an inning, you know, a run here, a run there, that's fine, but you got to stay away from the big inning. But yeah, you know, you have to get production out of the bottom of your rotation, just like you have to get the production out of the bottom of your lineup, and we're working hard on that. And I think here in the last week or 10 days, 2 weeks, we've seen improvement in that area.
Dave, you've got 2 guys in the bullpen, and Lugo and Gazelman, who've done a spectacular job of transitioning from starting to relieving. But how do you balance the temptation to want to get more innings out of those guys with the success that they've had and how they've helped your ball club in the role that they're in?
Yeah, it's a temptation, you know, especially with a guy like Lugo that has a lot of pitchability. He can really pitch to a scouting report. Not saying Robert can't, but you know, talking about Lugo here. But you know, sometimes, you know, if you move a guy out of there and move him to the rotation, you're in a way, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we're a much better bullpen, a much deeper pitching staff with those guys down there, and those, you know, those last 3 guys in the rotation, they just have to get it done for us. And I think you saw what Zach's capable of off and on throughout the year, especially last night. I know what Jason Vargas is all about, and I think we saw that the other night out of him. And you know, Steven Matz is still learning himself, and not so much a physical part of it, but the mental part of it. But we feel good about all 3 of them moving forward, and we just have to continue to work with them and grind through it. And I have the utmost confidence in all 3 of them.
You know, Dave, I'm old enough, you're probably not, where the pitching coach played a huge part in the conditioning of his pitchers. Ran pole to poles or sideline to sidelines. Do you take any part in the conditioning of your pitchers, or is that just on the training staff?
Well, that's on the, that's the training staff and the strength conditioning staff with Dustin and his guys. You know, I'm always in constant contact with Dustin about what are they doing, who's doing this, who's doing what, who's weak in what area. I mean, I don't oversee it, but I know what's going on with them. But you know, Ronnie, those pole to poles, those 45-minute jogs, you know, they don't do that anymore, and my right knee can attest to that.
That's right. Well, Dave, thanks so much for spending some time with us. Continued success to you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, Dave Eiland. That's I just love listening to Dave talk because he is a straight shooter up and down.
He is the kind of guy you want as a pitching coach, because you're going to get in real time real comments about what you're doing. He's not going to, you know, placate you with things he thinks you want to hear. Bad choice by Bohr. He had to go to second first and have the return throw back to him, because the speed was on first with Nimmo, not at the plate with Cabrera.
Good hustle by Brandon to get in there safely to keep the inning alive for Conforto, who takes a off-speed pitch for a strike. Conforto walked his first time up, one of 2 walks for Straley now on the night, after walking Nimmo a moment ago.
This is the problem. You know, Dave Eiland's too good. He's really good interview. So we're going to have to go back to the well again at some point this season later.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, he's just too good.
Might have to have him on once a week. Straley head 0-2. Rojas ran to the bag as that pitch was being thrown and opened up that left side hole, but Conforto fouled it off.
Remember yesterday, Rio Muto put on a play with his pitcher, with Caleb Smith with the pickoff at second base. Maybe the sign was on and Straley missed it.
Nimmo at second with 2 out. And Conforto pops one up. Who's going to get it? Third baseman Anderson. Side retired. A walk and 1 left. We played 3 at Citi Field. Mets and Marlins still no score. First 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Todd Frazier BP pullover, courtesy of Nikon. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. See the action out near the Shea Bridge tonight. Nets and Marlins go to the 4th with no score. Justin Bour leads off against Jacob DeGrom. Bour struck out his first time up tonight. Castro and Anderson to follow in the 4th. And Bour with a bunt against the shift, and he will beat it out for the first hit of the night for the Marlins. Beautifully executed by Bour. It's there every time, and he takes advantage of it. And the Marlins have the leadoff man on.
You know, I did take a peek at the scoreboard and saw that they hadn't had a hit yet, and I was thinking, boy, Bour, if he wants to, he can get that first hit, no problem. And nice job by Bour. It's exactly how you want to do it. You want to make sure that you bunt it hard enough. Why? Because DeGrom is such a great athlete. If you don't, he'll throw you out at first.
I mean, you don't have to make a great bunt and keep it toward the line. You just have to get it in the general area, and that was not an easy pitch to bunt. Here's Starlin Castro with a runner aboard. And the fastball just off the plate. It's the 3rd Marlins base runner. Dietrich got hit by a pitch leading off the 1st. Rojas walked in the 2nd, and now Bour with the bunt single. Castro flying to right his first time up.
You know, there comes a time, I think, when you're on a ball club that you know is going to be, Keith, what does Keith say, 2nd division?
Yeah.
He's going to have a hard time. You know, it's going to have a losing year. Marlins will have a losing year. And a lot of times you start playing for your own stats, right? Trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, this or that. That was winning baseball by Bour. Nice to see.
Well, there's an upside for Bour, too. I mean, that's line to left. It'll stay up for Nimmo. And Castro's retired. Bour goes back to first. I mean, there are so many hits to be had if you're a left-handed slugger and they play the shift against you. Why wouldn't you take them?
Except that Bour has great numbers against DeGrom. So that would be the one thing that might stop you. Say, listen, I get great numbers. I've taken this guy deep a couple times. That's going to be my game plan tonight. But he might know that Straley's been pitching really well. He knows DeGrom's not going to give up too much. Let's try to get something going. I like that. I like that thing.
And now he has better numbers against DeGrom.
Right.
See, count me as one who just doesn't get not doing that. Guillorme unable to come up with that cleanly. The throw across the diamond not in time to get Anderson. Guillorme normally impeccable with the glove. Could not handle that cleanly. Would have at least been able to get a force play at second had he gotten it. They're going to score that a base hit for Anderson.
Wow.
But this is one Guillorme makes 99 times out of 100.
Yeah, that's an E5. But Anderson is very happy. Not even close at first. No reason to hold up play.
Just to go back to the Bour bunt for a second. You know, if you're talking about self-interest, that play is there for you. I mean, if you bunt it in fair territory, you're probably going to have a hit, what, 8 out of 10 times? I mean, how often is the pitcher going to be able to make that play?
Well,
I mean, maybe more so with a guy like DeGrom because he's a great fielder. That's a double play ball hit by Rojas. Cabrera was going the wrong way, and the Mets only get 1 out of it. Cabrera broke to his right on a ball hit to his left. And so it took him a while to get to it.
Watch his step. Watch how he goes to his right off the bat, not to his left. That just disrupted the entire timing of the play and also the ability to get it to Rosario quick enough to turn the double play.
Now, is that just based on the pitch thrown that he's anticipating where the ball might be hit?
I think it's a breaking ball that was called. I think he's an older player, doesn't have the range he once had, and he's anticipating the ball's going to be pulled up the middle. I think that's what it is.
So the inning continues. 2 plays not made by the Mets. 1st and 3rd and 2 out. And here's J.B. Shuck. And he takes inside ball 1. Anyway, just to complete the thought on Bour. If you get a hit, let's say 7 out of 10 times, okay? For that at bat, you have a 700 slugging percentage.
There you go.
Right? That's good. That's really good.
Did you feel as though that bunt, there was a little bit of luck involved for Bour? Because the technique wasn't.
But normally, if he doesn't get the bunt down, what's he going to do? He's going to foul it off or miss it. And then he's still in the at bat. I just think the opportunities are there, and if you ever want to create a better opportunity for yourself going forward against the shift to make the move, then you can get hits out of that and create better opportunities down the road.
Well, remember, smaller hitters in days gone by would fake it to pull the third baseman in to slap it by them. Same concept, might change the infield defense.
Shuck fly to left his first time up, and he hits this one out to right field, and Bruce is right there waiting. Last 20 at bats against DeGrom with a runner in scoring position. Opposing batters are now 0 for 20. That's what Dave Eiland was talking about. No score in the fourth. Jay Bruce will lead off against Dan Straley. Big Pete with the close-up there. That was outstanding.
Pete gets in and out of there too, like a blur.
Must have been a sprinter in another life.
Yeah, he's a runner. It's like you, he's a runner.
Bruce lined out to right his first time up. You mean a slow runner like that?
It doesn't matter, you're still running. I can't even run. Neither can Dave Eiland, as we know now.
Bruce lifts one to left. Dietrich started back, now coming in, sliding, and he can't make the catch. Bruce, though, gets stuck at first base. He assumed Dietrich was going to catch it and was not running hard. Dietrich completely misjudged that ball, broke 3 steps back before charging in.
Well, the full swing by Bruce, and we already talked about the inexperience of Dietrich. We've seen him already be moved from his outfield position because they thought the ball was more apt to be hit the other way. Just, I mean, this is an out in Little League, American Legion, high school, Division III college.
As Rocco cranks one deep. But foul. This guy's got some superb power.
He's got some serious bat speed. Yeah. He does.
They've just changed the scoring on the ball Bruce just hit. They originally charged an error. Now they're changing it to a hit. That's a very fortunate hit for Mr. Bruce, who should be on second base. 0-1 to Mesoraco, fouled out his first time up, and he gets jammed on a changeup, and it's 0-2. Tonight's high-speed pitch brought to you by Infinity and Power at the Drive. DeGrom has dialed it up to 98 tonight.
It's almost not fair when you got to go up against DeGrom.
Or Syndergaard.
Or Syndergaard, right?
As Rocco low bridges the pitcher. Great stop by Castro. Rojas with the turn, not in time. Now Starlin Castro with a gem there to take a base hit away from Mesoraco on a ball that sailed right past Straley's ear.
With these shifts, things are upside down when you're watching the ball game. I think that's a sure base hit by Mesoraco. Just beautiful athleticism by Castro. And Rojas streaking across the bag. Couldn't get Mesoraco at first. For 100 years, that was a hit.
Straley. he got Charlie Brown by that ball.
Yes, he did.
1 out and 1 on. Here's Adrian Gonzalez, who had a base hit his first time up. Mesoraco was 3 inches off the bag as Straley threw to first, and that surprised him. He was adjusting his belt.
Hanging breaking ball hit right back through the box. When you're in spring training, it hits the L screen, and you go, "Oh, thank God I had the L screen."
I mean, what can you possibly explain what that feels like to have that baseball at 100+ miles an hour sail past your head?
You can't. It's a combination of feelings. It's a little scary. You're a little angry because you just gave up a bullet to a hitter, so it's a bad pitch. And in this case, he's able to laugh it off because it ended up being an out. I just know one time I had one in Montreal that hit me right. They had yellow seats then. Hit me right in the chest. I never saw it. And the next pitch I delivered to the plate, I had a little recoil.
Yeah. How could you not?
Because I was like, whoa, you can't be recoiling, bro.
Gonzalez cranks one, and that goes foul. So Mesoraco and Gonzalez each with prodigious foul balls.
So I kind of stood off the back of the mound and said, hey, shake yourself now. It's not going to happen again. Can't recoil. And you know, the type A pitcher personality you have allows you to get back in the pitcher's box, let's say.
I remember those seats in Montreal. It was always scary to watch games there because a lot of guys would lose balls in those yellow seats. I think you were the only one who had that experience.
Think they'll get a team again in Montreal?
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
I loved going to Montreal. Didn't love the ballpark, but presumably they get a new one. Full count to Gonzalez with Guillorme on deck. I mean, Commissioner keeps talking about going to 32 teams.
Yeah. And
to me, if you're going to add 2, Montreal certainly should be one of them.
Got to have a dome, I would think.
Well, they were going to build that downtown ballpark. Remember, 37,000 seats right near the Forum. It was supposed to be open air. But I would hope. Runner goes, foul back. Mesoraco in motion. J.B. Shuck playing left field right now, and Dietrich and right. They've been moving them back and forth.
Depending on the hitter.
Didn't work with Bruce. They had Dietrich in the wrong spot. And with the runner going, Gonzalez takes outside ball 4. It's not quite the Travis d'Arnaud as Dribble Cabrera second base, third base
That's right.
swap that
that
the Mets did last year. Remember they moved back and forth like 18 times because the Mets were out of infielders and Travis had to play on the infield for the first time in his career.
Well, if you're Don Mattingly, you're not afraid of a little bit of change. Didn't Billy Martin play Donnie at third base a couple of games?
Played him at second base as well. So now 2 aboard for Guillorme, who struck out his first time up. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by PC Richard & Son. So they've been playing Shuck to the pull side, except for with Guillorme. They keep Shuck in left field to the opposite field against Guillorme, figuring he's more likely to go that way. Straley's struggling with control now, and Real Muto is going to run it back out to him.
I've given a lot of thought to this, how I would, if I pitched in today's game, deal with the shifts, because I feel like I would have some anger management issues because of the shift. And I think the best way to deal with it as a pitcher is pay it no mind. Just do your thing, you know. And if push comes to shove and there's a big left-handed batter up there, then maybe throw something soft so he pulls it into where you have the most fielders.
All you have to do, Ronnie, is worry about your FIP.
Oh.
As long as your walks, your strikeouts, and your home runs are in the right order, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Okay, just the process then, Gary.
2-1 to Guillorme. I mean, that's what they say, right? Pitcher has no impact on what happens once the ball is hit.
So I'm going to erase. I've got 116 losses. I'm erasing them all because it didn't really matter.
Well, the year that you led the league in walks, your FIP probably was not great.
No.
But then it was outstanding. 2-1 to Guillorme with DeGrom on deck. The funny thing is, as analytics develop, that concept has kind of passed now.
Yeah.
Now they can judge who induces soft contact, which is less likely to result in a hit than the pitcher who gives up the harder contact. That's more likely to result in a hit on balls put in play.
Can I say Kyle Hendricks? You know, he's a guy that doesn't throw hard. Good changeup, throws about 87, 88 miles an hour, but produces soft contact. Or doesn't allow hard contact. How about that?
Less hard contact.
Yeah.
How about that? 2-2 to Guillorme. Mesoraco at second, Gonzalez at first. Scoreless game, fourth inning. And Guillorme foul tips it. It's held by Real Muto, and that's strike three. Fourth strikeout for Straley, the second time he's gotten Guillorme. And now DeGrom, who struck out his first time up.
Well, it's nice to see Jacob swinging because he's a real threat at the plate for a pitcher.
And he takes a hard cut, so he's not holding anything back now that he's allowed to cut it loose. Now he's wearing that guard on his right arm, which is supposed to prevent hyperextensions, which all the Met pitchers are now wearing, especially the guys who bat from the opposite side they pitch. And that's grounded to the right side. Moore on the backhand hits Straley on target, and that retires the side. Mets strand a pair in the bottom of the fourth. Still no score at Citi Field. On a beautiful night at Citi Field. Mets are heading to Milwaukee next, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Well, Gary, the Milwaukee Brewers 31-19. That's the most wins in the National League. They beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 9-2 today. And when you look at this team, the thing that really stands out is the work of the bullpen. The relievers have a sub-2.5 ERA. It's the top ERA in Major League Baseball in terms of relief pitchers. And yeah, you've got guys like Corey Knebel back, who's pitching well again. Matt Albers has been pitching really well, but Jeremy Jeffers and Josh Hader have been the story in the back end of that bullpen. Jeffers is unscored upon in 24 of 25 relief outings this season, and Hader has just been unbelievable, taking the National League by storm. Has 58 strikeouts in just 29 1/3 innings. He has the Brewers at 17-0 in games that he pitches, and he's one of those interesting relievers, kind of like Gesellman. Now you're seeing more and more. 11 of his appearances have been at least 2 innings.
Well, Hader was closing with Knebel out, but Knebel got the save the last 2 days.
We saw Jeffers pitch here, and he was outstanding.
Brinson lines one into left field, and he's got his first hit in the series. So the leadoff man on again against DeGrom. That's 3 times in 5 innings. Is Brinson, who had been 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts, as a leadoff hit.
He got a changeup from DeGrom. They've been really throwing the ball right by him. Got a changeup in the strike zone and didn't miss it.
His first hit in 19 at-bats against Met pitching this year, and that gives Straley a chance to bunt him over. Straley, who is 6 for 117 in his career, looking for his first sacrifice of the season. At 6 for 117, Ronnie.
Yeah, that's the early turn, too. So you're happy he's up there bunting, right?
If you're Don Mattingly, you're thrilled that Brinson got aboard so he can at least have a productive at bat. Corners charging hard, and Straley fouls off the bunt.
There's 2 ways to do it if you're a pitcher. You can have both toes square all the way around, have both your toes facing the pitcher, or kind of that diagonal where the front foot is in front of the back foot at a 45-degree angle, which Straley's doing. I think that's the best way to do it. You can cover more of the plate.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, Straley's obviously not a very good hitter, and you've got both corners charging very hard and a very good fielding pitcher in DeGrom. So at what point do you want your pitcher to forget about the bunt and try and chop one by him?
Can't hit. Can't hit at all. He's got to bunt all 3 strikes. Just have him put the bunt on and hope that Brinson, with his superior speed, can get to second base.
I mean, you run the risk of the double play with the way the Mets are charging.
You do, but you can get a double play also if you let him swing.
Right.
He puts the ball in play.
Well, you know what they say. You think you're going to do a double play, then just strike out.
I never heard that until I heard you say that in the booth. I wish I'd have known that when I was playing.
It's one of those dumb announcer things that players would never think of. You would assume the bunt is still on with 2 strikes. And Straley bunts it foul for strike 3. 5 strikeouts now for DeGrom. That's the first out of the inning.
A little slider gets the pitcher to have his head bob a little bit. No chance putting that where you want to.
So now DeGrom starts the 3rd time around the Marlins batting order, facing Derek Dietrich, who was hit by a pitch in the 1st and then struck out in the 3rd.
You gotta watch out first pitch with Dietrich. Saw that last night.
Rojas deep on a first pitch fastball. And Dietrich is hit again. He's like a magnet.
Yep. This one's not his fault. That ball, I was telling you before, when DeGrom, if he is struggling, it's because he holds on to the ball and pulls it a little into that inside part of the plate. No place for Dietrich to go.
So DeGrom, who had only hit 1 batter this season, has hit Dietrich twice tonight. That's 8 times Dietrich's now been hit. And for the second straight inning, the Marlins get 2 men on. And they've got their best hitters coming up, Real Muto and Bohr.
Don't fall asleep on the double steal here if you're the Mets.
Brinson with great speed at second. Dietrich at first. Real Muto is flied out and grounded out 0 for 2. And takes a fastball for a strike.
Despite the no score in this game, it's been a lot harder on DeGrom than it has been on Straley.
1-1 to Real Muto with Bohr on deck. Throws that one by him. The Marlins tonight are 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position, which means that opposition batters are now 0 for their last 20 against DeGrom with runners in scoring position. In fact, for the season coming into the night, the opposition was hitting 125 with runners in scoring position against Jake. 1-2 to Real Muto. And he missed with the changeup. 2-2.
You track any of the elite pitchers in the game, and that number with runners in scoring position will always be low. Always. The Scherzers and the Verlanders and others.
Two coming. Struck him out. Went right back to the changeup. 6 strikeouts for DeGrom, 2 out in the inning.
I like he took a little more off of that one instead of the 90-mile-an-hour changeup. That one was 87 miles an hour. We see the grip. Took a little off, made sure it was in the dirt, or at least low.
So now 2 out and 2 on for Bohr, who had a bunt single his last time up. Just the second bunt hit of Bohr's career. The first one came 2 years ago. This time Guillorme, with a runner at second, has to stay put at third base anyway.
Infielders, you got to remind each other, any ball on the ground, dive, keep it in the infield. You can't make a play.
Bohr is 1 for 2 on the night, struck out in the first inning, and takes the fastball inside for ball 1. DeGrom has been historically effective in terms of having these low run games. 52 of 116. Nobody in history has done that. And he pops the inside corner, a ball and strike.
That might have been the two-seamer there. That ball drifted back over the plate. Started inside the Bohr. DeGrom going for his 50th win tonight in a Mets uniform.
49 and 32 in his career. And everything inside the Bohr. Now it's 2-1.
Well, after those real good changeups to Real Muto to get the strikeout, probably see that pitch here on the 2-1 count to Bohr.
You worry about him poking that through that open hole at short.
Changeup should pull if he puts it in play.
Gets another fastball and pops it foul, and that'll go up behind the dugout on play. 2-2.
So in DeGrom's first start against the Marlins in Miami, he gave up a home run to Bohr on a fastball up and away that he hit over the left field wall. That's why he's crowding him with the hard stuff. He doesn't want to take a chance out there with this big hitter.
So if you go away, you want to change up out of the strike zone?
So the changeup, you have to bounce. If you're going to go for a strikeout up, it's got to be way up.
2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Bohr. Struck him out. Side retired. Slider in at his knee. DeGrom strikes out 3 in the inning and works around 5th inning trouble. What a master of his craft. 0 for their last 22 against him with runners in scoring position. Yeah, he ups his game. No score. By Mattress Firm, where your budget stretches further. Two guys starting their rehab assignments tonight. Kevin Plawecki coming back from his broken left hand. Hansel Robles coming back from a knee. They'll both start their rehab assignments for Vegas tonight. Ahmed Rosario leads off the home fifth and almost swings out of his socks against Dan Straley's fastball. 0-1.
We've seen that the last couple of nights, haven't we, from Rosario?
Ever since he hit the 2 home runs. You know, if you think back a few years to a young Jose Reyes, that used to happen to Jose all the time.
It did.
When he hit a couple of home runs, all of a sudden the next 3 or 4 games he'd be taking big home run hacks. He tops that one toward third. Tough play. Anderson with a bare hand has no play, and Rosario has himself an infield hit. Take a big swing, hit a 70-foot roller, get an infield hit.
Even with Anderson's arm, no chance. Well, we've enjoyed watching him run on this homestand. The one thing you could change is that when you're running the first, you'll always be taught this. Don't look at the ball. Just look right at first base, run right through the bag.
Only slows you down to turn and look. So the Mets get the leadoff man on for the second straight inning, and now Nimmo, who walked his last time up, 0 for 1 on the night. Each team has had 3 hits. There goes Rosario. The pitch outside. Realmuto's throw is right on the money, and Rosario's a dead duck. I don't know if that was designed as a pitch out or just a pitch that was outside, but it was a perfect pitch for Realmuto to throw, and he threw a perfect strike.
Yeah, it wasn't a pitch out. It was just a bad pitch from Straley, but it served its purpose. And Realmuto with a strike. I said that he's thrown out 1/3 of the base runners that have tried to steal against him in his career, and here you see why.
Rosario now has been caught 4 out of 5 attempts this year. He was successful 7 of 10 as a rookie last year. So 1 out and nobody on, and Nimmo takes a slider for a strike. Australia has walked 3, given up 3 hits. His pitch count is not as low as he'd like it to be.
Watch the footwork on Realmuto. We saw it in previous game where he just gets in that right-handed batter's box, shifts his feet, gets on top of the baseball so it doesn't have a lot of movement to it, and fires a strike.
You know, Ronnie, watching that on replay, are we sure that wasn't a pitch out? Because he started moving out awfully quickly.
Yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. I didn't see this. I didn't see the sign. It's just that Australia has missed so many times against left-handed hitters on that side of the plate. I was assuming. You know, that gets you in trouble.
You don't see pitch outs very often. Nimmo drives one deep right field, headed toward the wall. It's out of here. Into the second deck. Brandon Nimmo breaks the ice with his 3rd home run of the year, and it's 1-0 New York.
What's not to like? This young man just gets it done, man.
His first hit in this series, and it was crushed.
They were trying to come in. They didn't get it in enough. And when you see him pop a ball like this, you really anticipate that he could do it more often.
When he hits them, they tend to go a fairly long way. Cabrera hits one into the shift, and Rojas throws him out. 2 away.
So he's trying to get that ball in, cut it in, and jam Nimmo. But he got the hands pulled in, hit that ball in front of the plate. With that slightly uppercut with his head right on that baseball. Looks it right off the bat. And Nimmo always puts his head down and runs hard. Doesn't matter if it's a home run or a single.
First run of the game brought to you by the Hyundai Memorial Day event. Nimmo had been 0 for 8 in the series to that point, but he gives the Mets the first lead of the game. Fifth home run Straley's given up in 24 1/3 innings this year. And Conforto fooled badly on the slider. It's 1-2. Michaels had fits and starts, but just cannot get anything consistent going through his first 120 at bats of the year. It's like the knothole gang.
Yeah, right.
Sneaking a peek. 1-2 coming. And he pops one up. Shallow left. Dietrich coming on. Dietrich, and then out goes Rojas to bail him out. And that retires the side. Mets get the first run of the game on Nimmo's home run, and DeGrom a 1-0 lead. Years ago today that Mike Piazza made his Mets debut, one day after they traded for him from the Miami, then Florida Marlins. And all these items are in the Hall of Fame. Starlin Castro leads off in the 6th inning. Jacob DeGrom staked to a 1-0 lead.
George Thomas and Piazza closed Citi Field. Sorry, Shea Stadium, right?
They did.
Walking out to center field.
First, Mike caught the last pitch, and then they took it out the center field gate. Cool. That was a great moment.
It was.
Bittersweet because of the way that season ended moments earlier. Now a proud soccer team owner.
Yeah. Very proud.
Starlin Castro 0 for 2 tonight. Flied out, line to left, and he fouls back the fastball from DeGrom. 2-2. Jake has struck out 7, including 3 in the 5th inning. After the Marlins put a couple on base, he struck out Real Muto and Bohr, arguably their 2 biggest threats, back to back. And Castro flies this one out to right, chasing Bruce back, and he gets there to make the grab. 1 out. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Audi. Visit a tri-state Audi dealer and get behind the wheel of the Audi model you've always wanted. Could not ask for a more perfect night for a game. 80 degrees at game time. This is what you root for every game of the season. Brian Anderson is lined out and had an infield hit, and he's late on the fastball. 0-1. Nets are going to climate controlled circumstances for the next 4 days. Miller Park in Milwaukee. Then they go to Atlanta, where it is most decidedly not climate controlled, and where the Mets always encounter rain.
Braves people say it's your fault.
Yeah, maybe. Line out to Nimmo and left for the second out. Well, all I know is the last weather report I looked at, there's a tropical storm gathering that's going to be hitting Georgia right about the time the Mets get there for Monday's doubleheader.
It's supposed to get 3.5 inches of rain on Monday.
That's great. So what do we say? Doubleheaders Tuesday and Wednesday.
Keith, get some sleep.
Oh, you're not there, right?
Yeah. No.
He'll be all rested by the time he gets to Atlanta. Not more than 150 book tour events between now and then. Here's Rojas, who's walked and hit a ground ball into a fielder's choice, and he takes a strike. DeGrom threw 100 pitches in 7 innings in his last start. He's at 81 through 5 2/3 tonight. Pretty much the same pace.
I bet you if you were able to talk to DeGrom and ask him how he feels right now, he'd say, out of sorts. I don't have my good stuff. I can't locate it. But he still gets it done because it's the art of pitching. It's not the art of throwing.
Well, it's part of what Dave Eiland was talking about when we talked to him before. What he's learned about Jake is his incredible competitiveness and ability to raise his game at key points in the game, and we've already seen that tonight again and again and again. One-two coming to Rojas. He's able to fight off that fastball. J.B. Shuck would be next. Marlins right fielder slash left fielder tonight. Again, the 1-2. The slider goes to the backstop, 2-2.
That was supposed to be that slider he throws at the hitter, and it bends over the inside corner. Missed about 3 feet. But back to work, because that's what he does.
Better to miss there than right in the middle of the plate. Just can't get that pitch where he wants it. Now it's 3-2.
Well, Rojas has really shown some pop this year, so might have to be a little careful with him. 3-2 slider might be the choice. Chuck up next.
Rojas has drawn the only walk from DeGrom tonight. 2 out and nobody on. 3-2 count. And the curveball misses for ball 4. Rojas has walked for a second time. Thought he'd surprise him with the curve, and he just missed.
It did surprise him. If he caught the plate, he would have got him.
So 2 out, and now J.B. Shuck, who's been up twice, fly to left, fly to right. Rojas at first, 2 steals on the year, and Shuck takes the fastball inside as Mesoraco thought about the back pick. DeGrom has stranded 6 runners in the first 5 innings. Jake's second in the National League in ERA behind the currently disabled Carlos Martinez. The surprise on that list is Miles Michaelis, who's come back from Japan and pitched brilliantly for the Cardinals.
He's 6-0 now.
Ground ball toward the middle. Cabrera can't make the connection, and everybody's safe. Would have had a chance for a force at second had he been able to come up with the backhand. And they're going to charge an error to Cabrera, prolonging the inning.
See if this ball came up at all, because he's so sure-handed. It did. Came up enough to catch him in the back of the wrist.
So after 2 out and nobody on, a walk and an error have put 2 men aboard for Lewis Brinson, who finally got his first hit against Met pitching this season, his last time up, a single to left field. And another chance for the Marlins with runners in scoring position. 0 for 4 tonight.
Jake has had to dig down deep 3 times now.
3 straight innings. Rojas at second, Shuck at first with 2 down. And Brinson doesn't chase away. Ball 1. .90 pitches now for DeGrom. Not a hint of action in the Mets bullpen. And now behind on Brinson, 2-0.
Good time for Mesoraco to run out there. Just change the scenery a little bit. He's obviously struggling with that side of the plate, the glove side. Just come on out and have a conversation.
Martin Prado has come out on deck to bat for Straley. If Brinson keeps the inning alive, I don't know if that's a deke or not. Brinson takes a cut of the fastball, 2-1. I mean, Straley's been pitching really well, but he's at 88 pitches,
yeah.
So Mattingly might be willing to pull his starter.
And how many chances you're going to get against DeGrom?
And they get Adam Conley, the lefty, up in the bullpen. There are the numbers against DeGrom. 0 for the last 22 with runners in scoring position. Cabrera runs to the bag and just back safely is Rojas. Good effort on the pickoff move.
I like that. That keeps the runner closer, even if you don't get him at second. DeGrom was just a tiny bit late. Could have been a little quicker, and that would have been a close play.
There's Conley up in the bullpen. 2-1 to Brinson. And he hits it right at Rosario. Force play ends the inning. Brinson hit it sharply, but Rosario makes the play, and DeGrom is through trouble again. 6 scoreless for Jake. Just a ho-hum night. 1-0 Mets. Jake. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Jay Bruce had a pop fly single his last time up.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoy like the fan when he's got it all working and he's striking out 12, 13, 14 batters. I love that. But as someone who did this for a long time, I can appreciate this night even more.
Well, the measure of a pitcher, no matter how talented, is how he does on the nights when he's you know, he's not overpowered.
Doesn't have it.
And what he's done on this night is throw 6 scoreless innings. Regardless of the circumstances. 8 runners left on base. 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, running his streak to 23 in a row. Retired with runners in scoring position. Bruce pops one up, reaching for a 3-1 pitch, and Castro settles under it. 1 out.
You know, guys, you speak about the way DeGrom's able to power through when he doesn't have his best stuff. And I had a conversation with him this spring about it, why he seems to be able to do that better than so many others. And he said something really simple, that for him, when he goes out there, he doesn't worry about what he doesn't have or what might not be working. He says to himself, what do I have currently, and how do I now get this particular batter out? And it's a subtle thing, but I think that is something that differs from a lot of pitchers who sit there trying to figure out how to get the other stuff that's not working back to working.
Good point.
As Rocco pops one foul, and that'll go out of play. It's in-game box score brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealer. Brandon Nimmo's home run, the only run of this game.
You know, the best pitchers I've ever been around, Steve, are the ones that stay in the moment. You know, when you let the ball go, when you get the ball back and it's your next pitch up, that pitch is gone. Ashes. Move on.
As Rocco pulls one foul. Well, and that's, you know, that's what this this staff has been talking about incessantly about Steven Matz, about trying to find a way to slow things down when things get rough and just worry about the next pitch. And it sounds easy, but obviously it's not. That's line to right center field. Brinson cutting over, reaches and makes the catch. Brinson was playing over in left center, and he covered a lot of ground to get to that sinking humpback liner by Mesoraco for the second out.
Well, this young man can fly. Off the bat, that was a sure hit, and he got such a good jump, and the closing speed. Didn't really even have to dive. That's how fast he got to that baseball. Eyes looking it right into the glove. And Straley with the applause.
Well, he might be struggling offensively, but Brinson's defense has been impeccable. Straley has a chance for his first 1-2-3 inning of the night as he takes on Adrian Gonzalez. So Straley, who was due to be pinch hit for had Brinson kept the last inning alive, trying to squeeze out a 6th effective inning. Gonzalez has been aboard twice tonight with a single and a walk.
He asked me about Brinson, when's the time that the hitting will affect him. I said hanging his head or hanging his head on defense.
Well, that's not happened.
Yep.
He's made a couple of sparkling plays in this series. One-two coming to Gonzalez, and he strikes him out with a changeup. Straley has a strikeout, his 5th of the night, and his first 1-2-3 inning. Jacob DeGrom back to work for the 7th. Mets with a 1-0 lead. Great pitchers duel tonight. Straley has held up his end, but DeGrom's been better. Close-up look at Jacob DeGrom's warm-up pitches as we go to the 7th inning. Cameron Maybin will pinch hit, and he takes a strike. Maybin started the first game of the series, went 0 for 1 on a walk. Veteran his second tour of duty with the Marlins. Takes a slider outside, 1-1. Derek Dietrich on deck, then JT Realmuto. So Dan Straley's done after 6 good innings, 1 run, 4 hits. But he leaves trailing at the moment to DeGrom. And Maybin lifts one to shallow center. In a few strides is Conforto. 1 out. So I haven't felt any undue tension in the booth tonight, Ronnie. And I'm happy about that. It means that you're not as broken up as I thought you might be after the events of this morning and early this afternoon in New Haven, Connecticut.
I have to give you congratulations to your Columbia Lions. They beat Yale. They have a 3-game series, and they beat them 2 straight. So the Yale Bulldogs 2 and barbecue.
4-0 in the first game.
Yeah.
And then today, 2-1 in 15 innings. They held Eli's to 1 run in 24 innings.
I feel like I owe you something. If since Columbia won, maybe some Barney Greengrass or something. I'll take you for breakfast.
Well, you know, I used to have this standing wager with Chris Majkowski when Columbia used to play Fordham in football.
Yeah.
That the loser had to sing the winner's fight song on the air. And since Fordham beat Columbia every year, I know the Fordham fight song by heart.
Yes.
And have sung it many times. There's Madge in the back behind Howie. I'm not going to require you to sing.
No, that's definitely not happening.
Dietrich takes a call, 3rd strike, and they're at 2 out. Well,
we've got one guy in the booth losing his street cred right now. I'm not going there.
Here's the thing. I was just excited enough that Columbia made it to the Ivy League Championship Series, considering what it took for them to get there.
That's right.
They were in 3rd place. Dartmouth was in 2nd. Dartmouth's last game of the regular season, they had an 8-run lead on Harvard and blew it and lost 18-17, which got Columbia into the championship series, which they then won.
Those Harvard guys always play a part in Yale's misery. They really do. Well, congratulations to the Columbia team. They were great, and Yale had a strong season themselves. In fact, the pitcher who started the first game of that series for Yale was unbelievable. And I was told by his father, who's a really nice man, that if he won that game, and he pitched fantastic, only gave up 1 run, he would have tied my record for the most wins at Yale.
Realmuto finds the hole, and he's got a 2-out hit, and the Marlins have the tying run aboard. So how many games did you win at Yale?
25. Sorry, 23. 23. I didn't even know until he told me, by the way. Realmuto's 4th hit in the last 2 games.
How many starts did it take for you to win 23 games?
28.
28 starts, and you won 23 games?
Yeah.
And did you go deep into those games?
Pretty deep. 9 innings on all of the games.
Every one.
Everyone. You know, I got to give the caveat, though. You know, this was Yale. It's not like I had a lot of guys behind me. I didn't have Lugo and Gazelman.
Here's Justin Bohr with the tying run aboard, and he takes up and in for ball 1.
Enough Ivy League stuff. Back to the Justin Bohr.
Exactly. The Stetson versus George Mason matchup. DeGrom and Bohr. And a change up for a strike, and it's 1-1. Bohr had a bunt single in the 4th, struck out his other 2 at bats, 2 of the 8 strikeouts for DeGrom tonight. But they have some history. Well, DeGrom's gotten a lot of mileage out of that changeup in the later stages of this game. And now he's ahead on Bohr, 1-2.
Last time he struck him out on that hard slider down and in.
Tying run at first and 2 out. One-two. Up and in. 2-2.
It was the hard slider, but he hung it. But it stayed out of the strike zone.
Season high 107 pitches for DeGrom. He hadn't thrown more than 103 in any start before tonight. 2-2 coming. Or foul curveball. There have not been many easy innings for DeGrom. He had a 1-2-3 third, base runners in every other inning. Marlins have already stranded 8 runners through the first 6, and DeGrom trying to leave another one on base.
I look at a 2-pitch sequence, up and in with hard fastball, and counter with a changeup if I miss. Gets the 3-2.
Drive in the air, left center field. Over in the gap comes Nimmo. He's there, and the side retired. Another king-sized out for Jacob DeGrom as he gets his nemesis Bohr. 7 scoreless inning for DeGrom. 1-0 New York. It is dominating best. DeGrom throws 7 scoreless innings, strikes out 8.
Just such a battler in this pitch sequence against Bohr. Tried to really keep the ball in tight on him. The 1 pitch away, came back with a changeup, and then after that it was everything in. Slider he missed, a good slider here, and then the fastball which leaked just a little bit. When I saw the pitch I was fearful, but Bohr didn't get enough of it.
That was the same pitch that Bohr took out the other way against DeGrom in Miami.
The things can change from game to game, right? I think that was the right choice, though. Fastball up and in, and if it's a ball, to go to 3-2, then counter with the change.
Game summary: Dan Straley was good, 6 innings, 1 run. DeGrom better, 7 innings, no runs. Now Nick Whitgren on in relief for Miami in the bottom of the 7th, and Luis Guillorme takes a strike.
You know, it's interesting to watch all these pitchers come in the last couple of days in these tight games for Miami. Their numbers are very good, even though the bullpen has really struggled in the last 15, 16 games.
Whitgren pitched in the opening game of the series, gave up an unearned run. Facing Guillorme, who's 0 for 2, couple of strikeouts against Straley tonight. And he punches 1 foul, 1-2. Sunday, June 3rd is a McDonald's Family Sunday at Citi Field. The Mets take on the Cubs at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans will receive a Mets fanny pack presented by Empire City Casino. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases postgame in the Mr. Met Dash presented by Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Fastball away to Guillorme, 2-2. Pitcher spot due up next, and Jose Bautista has come out on deck to pinch hit for New York. Jose made his Mets debut last night. He's had more time to think about his first at bat tonight. Slapped to short, and Rojas is there to grab it and throws out Guillorme, 1 away. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Purple Bricks. Whether you're buying or selling your home, go to purplebricks.com.
It's interesting conversations you have with your catcher after a start like that. You almost have a warmer relationship with your catcher after games like that because you work so hard to try to get through innings when you know you don't have complete control. You lean on each other.
So here's Bautista, who had a hit in his debut last night, a double. He has not been a very successful pinch hitter in his career, just 7 for 55, a 127 average with no home runs as a pinch hitter. So if you're thinking about Bautista for the long term when Cespedes comes back, you know, they've been talking about him as a right-hand bat off the bench. Hasn't had much experience or much success in that role.
Well, a guy who played every day would not have a lot of experience, right? He was a major part of those Toronto Blue Jays teams.
Somewhat better as a DH than as a PH.
Yeah, right. When they had Bautista, Encarnacion, and Donaldson, that was quite a trio.
And a slider off the plate from Whitgren. It's 3-1. Ahmed Rosario on deck. 333 career home runs for Bautista, including 2 this year during his 2-week stint with the Braves. And he hits one on the ground, cut off by Anderson, and that's the second out. So Whitgren's come in, gotten 2 ground ball outs. And now Rosario, who topped the single on the infield his last time up and then was caught stealing. Mets have had just 4 hits tonight. The only one that's mattered, Brandon Nimmo's home run in the 5th inning. Gets a slider over for a strike. Seth Lugo's getting ready to pitch the 8th inning after DeGrom went 7 sometimes difficult but always effective innings.
Sometimes those conversations I have, and the pitching coach will say, God, you couldn't get that out there. I didn't have anything tonight. I didn't have anything. I don't know how I threw 7 shutout innings.
He had what he needed.
Yes, he did.
1 run allowed in his last 33 and a 3rd inning. That'll work.
Yes, it will.
1-2 coming. Foul back. And Rosario lines one right to Rojas, and that retires the side. Mets go 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 7th. Lugo on for the 8th with the Mets up 1-0.
Something erupts. Reyes and Olivo trying to get at each other. Wow. And now we've got a wild scene.
Remember when Miguel Cabrera was a Marlin?
Barely. Barely.
That was the last weekend of 2007 before the Marlins broke the Mets' hearts on the final day. Seth Lugo on to pitch the 8th inning.
Well, his last eight innings out of the bullpen, he's not given up a run, struck out 9, no walks, only 4 hits allowed. But 2 days ago, he faced the Marlins, and he struggled, especially with his breaking balls, hit hard. So maybe a day's rest gets him sharper.
Castro had a triple against him in that inning, in which he gave up 3 bullets. 2 of them were caught. And a better curveball that time by Lugo, and it's 0-2. Marlins in-game box brought to you by ChevyOffers.com. Just 4 little hits for the Marlins against Jacob DeGrom, who walked 2, hit 2 batters, and did not allow a run in 7 innings and 109 pitches. 0-2 from Lugo to Castro, and he buries the curveball. DeGrom's ERA with his performance tonight down to 1.54, which leads the National League and is second in the major leagues only to Justin Verlander, who saw his ERA go up this afternoon to 1.08.
Ponce de Leon.
One-two coming. Struck him out. High heat from Lugo to get Castro. 1 down in the 8th.
You see that a lot from Lugo. It's almost like he pitches backwards. He'll throw a lot of the breaking stuff early and then put you away with that good fastball that can go 94 plus.
So 1 out. Now Brian Anderson, who's a very strange 1 for 3. He's at 2 line drive outs. He also had a routine ground ball to third that Guillorme booted that went for an infield hit. So he's 1 for 3. And he takes the curveball down for ball 1. It's trying to shut out the Marlins for the 2nd time in this series. They won the Monday night game 2-0 behind Jason Vargas and company. The outside corner, 1-1. And trying to get Jacob DeGrom to 5-0 for the first time in his career. Last time a Met pitcher started 5-0 was Matt Harvey in 2015. Speaking of Matt, quite a performance last night for the Reds.
Pitched himself out of a couple of jams, especially one in the first. Went 6 innings, didn't he? It's the first time this year.
Only 3 hits. Got 6 RBIs from Scooter Gennett to win that game easily. Lined into right field, a base hit for Anderson. Over comes Bruce to cut it off. Anderson takes the hard turn but holds with a 1-out single. So Anderson has his 2nd hit of the night, his 3rd hard hit ball.
Well, he's one of the more impressive young players for this Marlins team. Each and every time takes a nice at bat, and this one the other way was a seed. Again with the high leg kick, and that ball hit almost even with the plate, so that's why that ball was driven to right center field.
So the tying run at first with 1 out. Miguel Rojas the batter. Rojas has walked twice and hit him to a force play, 0 for 1. And a first pitch curveball for a strike. Anderson has 2 stolen bases and 3 tries this year. Carrying that tying run at first, and Lugo will check in on him. JB Shuck is on deck. First time for Rojas facing Lugo. Best numbers on this Marlins team against Lugo belong to Martin Prado, who is in the dugout and available to pinch hit. Long hold. And finally time asked for by Rojas. Well, Rojas coming in to this season had 4 home runs in 757 at bats. This year 7 home runs and only 171 at bats. Guillorme guarding the line at third, and Rojas pops one up into shallow right center. Angling in is Bruce to call. 2 out. Now you can watch the Pix games on the go. Just log on to Pix11.com or download the Pix11 app for mobile devices. And now J.B. Shuck bats with 2 out and a runner at first. Shuck is 0 for 3. Reached on an error by Cabrera his last time up. Jacob DeGrom tonight, 7 scoreless innings, 53 times in 117 big league starts. He's allowed no runs or 1 run. It's phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. I have no words for that.
And you know, the caveat always is, in the old days starters were going more innings, but he's the only man in history ever to have that many games of 1 run or less in his first 117 starts.
Is there any doubt that if he pitched on the '86 team, he'd be between 230 and 250 a year? Of course he would.
Sure.
Because that's what everyone did. It's
all about what they're nurtured to do and what the expectations are. It's not a matter of inability to do that.
Ooh.
Pops out of Mesoraco's mitt, but no advance. So Adam Conley, the lefty, and Kyle Barraclough, the righty, up in the Marlins bullpen. That's at the top of the batting order coming up in the bottom of the 8th. Lugo trying to keep them in the lead.
Still not smooth for Lugo here. Just a little off with his breaking pitch.
And Shuck fouls back the high fastball, 1-1.
You know, he wraps this breaking ball right from the beginning, and he starts it behind his head. He's already got it ready and ready to fire. And that might be the issue. He might be starting that too early. A lot of times with the good breaking balls, you want to really get that ball going once you get even with your head, not start all the way back like that. Starts breaking too early.
Shuck lifts one to left. Nimmo coming toward the line. Side retired. So Lugo gets the job done. Works around the Anderson hit. That sends us to the bottom of the 8th with the Mets up 1-0. He wanted 5th inning.
Oh, they wanted that ball up in the strike zone. It was down instead.
And you found Nimmo.
Yes.
That's a look for some insurance in the bottom of the 8th, and it's Mr. Nimmo who will lead off against the new Marlin pitcher, left-hander Adam Conley. Line score brought to you by your Tri-State Volkswagen dealer.
We saw Conley pitch in this series already. Starting pitcher 2 seasons ago when he won 8 ball games, and you thought he was going to be in that rotation for a long time, but he's had some fits and starts.
That was his season debut in the big leagues Monday night, and he faced Nimmo in that outing and got him to ground out to short. And Nimmo attacks the first pitch fastball and fouls it off. Nimmo, Cabrera, and Conforto for the Mets in the 8th. And Brandon lines a base hit. He's had better at bats against lefties as he's got more looks at them. And he's on base for the 3rd time tonight.
Well, the more at bats he gets, the better he will be. Why? Because he knows the strike zone. And he very rarely swings at pitches that are outside of the strike zone. When you do that, you're going to hit the ball hard. Short stroke, so he can take you to the bridge and also start off an inning.
So the Mets looking for insurance have Nimmo at first. Now Cabrera will step in. When the Mets had that walk-off win earlier on this homestand, Cabrera laid down a bunt, and the 3rd baseman Anderson is playing back, not looking for it. Well, Cabrera this time is swinging away. Got the 2 left-hand hitters to follow, and Conforto and Bruce, with the left-hander on the mound. And that might have everything to do with why Cabrera wouldn't even think about bunting in this spot. Todd Frazier contributing the salt and pepper, performing for our cameraman Dave Chesney. You don't suppose Ches was responding with a salt and pepper of his own, do you? Nimmo has 3 steals and 3 tries this year. I would imagine that Todd is going stir crazy by about now. It's been out a lot longer than he expected when he first went on the DL with that hamstring injury.
I mean, I found it unexpected. I wasn't with you guys in Cincinnati, and he was in the lineup one day and then was on the DL the next.
In the air to center field, Brinson ranges over. Nimmo back to first, 1 out. Out of town scores brought to you by Altice, won by Optimum. Brewers sweep the series from the Diamondbacks, who've now lost 13 of 14. Mets will see the Brewers, who have the best record in the National League, tomorrow. Justin Verlander terrific again today, and the Astros win over the Giants. Tyson Ross 6 2/3, 9 strikeouts as the Padres held off the Nats. And Jake Arrieta on his game today for the Phils. They're up 3-0 in the 7th. Teams have split the first 2 of that series. Phillies a game and a half behind the Braves at the top of the NL East. Here's Conforto with 1 out and 1 on. And he slashes 1 foul. Conforto 0 for 2 tonight, 2 for 10 in this series.
So in the National League, if the season ended today, which is a silly premise, but I'll say it anyway, Washington, Chicago, and LA would not be in the post.
And New York.
And New York. I'm just talking about, I mean, everyone's kind of choices.
The wild cards would be Philly and St. Louis. Atlanta, Milwaukee, and Colorado leading the divisions. Ronnie, there's a long way to go.
Yes. I think someone said 45 to me today, I think was the number.
That's outside, and now Conley behind Conforto, 3-1 with Bruce on deck. Jerry's Familia getting ready in the bullpen for a save chance. Marlins will have 8, 9, and 1 in the order coming up in the 9th. Brinson, the pitcher spot, and Dietrich. And Conforto hits a tapper back to Conley. He'll go to first with it. And that's the second out as Nimmo moves to second. Probably a smart play by Conley, who didn't seem to have his feet under him to throw to second. Wake up with Betty, Dan, Byron, Marissa, and the rest of the Picks morning news crew with breaking news, traffic, and sports, plus the latest weather to keep you in the know. Mornings from 4:30 to 9 on the Picks 11 Morning News, New York's very own.
4:30 traffic call. No traffic right now.
Hey, how often have you been on the roads at 4:30 in the morning?
Way too many times.
So
this,
you know it's possible.
Yeah, this past year.
Wait till they shut down the L train.
Oh.
Here's Bruce, who's 1 for 3 tonight. And a fastball in for a strike.
Plaid shirts on buses.
Bruce struck out against Conley on Monday night. Nimmo at second and 2 out. And Bruce lifts one foul, and it's 0-2.
Boy, I don't know if you noticed there, but Real Musso, if Bruce didn't swing at that pitch, he was coming out and going to fire to Rojas at second base, and Nimmo would not have gotten back. Nimmo taking a huge secondary lead at second, which he's supposed to do, especially now with 2 strikes.
He's got Rojas playing right behind him. 0-2 from Conley, and Bruce goes down swinging to end the inning. So the Mets strand Nimmo, and that means Familia will try to protect a 1-0 lead as we go to the 9th at Citi Field. Try and nail down his 14th save of the year. Jay Reese has been right on top of his game as his usage has diminished a little bit from early in the season.
His last 5 appearances, 3 saves and a win for Jay Reese.
Trying to nail down the first 1-0 victory of the season for the Mets. In fact, they didn't win a 1-0 game all of last year. Their last 1-0 win came June of 2016 in Atlanta, an 11-inning game that Kelly Johnson won with a home run off Dario Alvarez.
Oh, the lefty the Mets had, Dario Alvarez. There's the numbers for Familia.
So the Mets trying to win 1-0 tonight on the strength of a Nimmo home run if Familia can nail it down. Lewis Brinson has one of the 5 Miami hits tonight. He's singled in the 5th inning. Fires one past him, 0-1. Martin Prado is out on deck to pinch hit for Miami, and then Derek Dietrich in the 9th. Guillorme guarding the line at 3rd against Brinson. that one outside, 1-1. DeGrom went 7, no runs, 4 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Lugo 1 inning, no runs, 1 hit. And now Familia trying to get the final 3 outs. Late swing foul, 1-2. Our next picks game will be this weekend, Sunday, the final game of the series in Milwaukee. 1:30 the coverage on Picks 11 Sunday. Familia ahead on Brinson, 1-2. Ground ball down to first. Sliding stop Gonzalez, the race, and he gets there in time. Gonzalez playing off the line, had a long way to go. A beautiful sliding stop, and then had to win the race with Brinson to get the first out.
Well, one of the problems here is after the great backhand by Gonzalez, I'm not sure Familia was going to get there in time. So Gonzalez had to take it. What a play.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who does not run well at all, trying to race a young speedster to the bag, and Gonzalez at age 36 got there. Nice play.
Impressive play.
So now 1 out, and here's Martin Prado, who started the first 2 games of this series, went 1 for 9. He cannot get out of his own way right now, coming back from a hamstring injury. He's had 88 at bats on the season. And Prado takes a fastball for a strike. Prado has good numbers against Familia, 3 for 6. Derek Dietrich on deck has also done well against Jerry's. Familia again yanking that fastball. It's 1-1.
Yeah, just overthrowing a little bit in the infield. You got Guillorme really protecting the line at third base, but Gonzalez playing off it at first base.
Same as he was against Brinson.
That's right.
And again, Familia just hanging on to that ball a little too long and yanking it outside.
Yeah, it's that, Gary, and also he gets a little lazy with his bottom half, so he never pushes through and follows through the strike zone. So sometimes he's just too tall, and that's one of the reasons that he holds on to it too long. He needs to use those big, strong legs to get through it.
2-1 to Prado, who's making his first pinch hitting appearance of the season. And he grounds one toward the hole. Guillorme can't get it, and Prado's got a base hit. So the Marlins get the tying run aboard with 1 out, and Derek Dietrich coming up.
Well, we just mentioned you play on the line that makes a routine grounder into a hit, but you don't want to give up a double.
So that brings up Dietrich, who's 5 for 10 in his career against Familia. We'll get a pinch runner. Yadiel Rivera will run for Prado at first base, carrying the tying run. Here's Rivera, who's got more speed than Prado.
Dietrich's strength is down in the strike zone, and that's the strength of Familia.
Familia gave up a double to Dietrich on Monday night when he got the save. He was able to work around that 2-base hit. Dietrich took him the other way into the left field corner. And a fastball on the inside edge, 0-1. Rocco calling for the throw to first.
Rocco, because of his time in the league, he's got some respect. So less apt to run on him than you would on other catchers.
Real Muto on deck. 0-1 to Dietrich. Fastball away, 1-1. Rivera, despite having good speed, does not have a stolen base attempt in his major league career. That spans 80 games, so it's certainly not likely this will be the time for his first.
We say that once a series, don't we?
That's true. Usually not in the 9th inning in a one-run game. Dietrich's been on base twice tonight, hit by pitches both times by DeGrom. First time DeGrom ever hit 2 batters in one game, and he hit the same batter twice. Not surprising it would be Dietrich, who's a human pincushion. And he rips one into right field for a base hit. Chased toward the line by Bruce. Rivera to third. Dietrich heads to second. And the Marlins have the tying and go-ahead runs in scoring position with 1 out, and Dietrich comes through against Familia again.
Down hitter against a down pitcher, and Dietrich has won most of these battles. The ball's just middle, kind of tomahawks it over the head of Gonzalez. Good job of Jay Bruce of cutting this off. If it gets to the wall, Rivera scores. Maybe not. Rivera had to go down because of the line drive from Dietrich.
Well, now it gets dicey.
And the location of this pitch was middle, and nice job by Dietrich getting on top of that baseball.
Dave Eiland just paid a visit to the mound. The entire infield grouped around to talk about what comes next. Where do you play your infield? You got to play them back.
Yeah,
right?
they're going to be back.
Got to concede the tying run on a ground ball because you don't want to risk the base hit that brings in the go-ahead run. JT Realmuto's 1 for 4 tonight, 0 for 9 in his career against Familia. Tying run at third, go-ahead run at second with 1 out. And Realmuto gets tied up, but it's inside ball 1.
Only way it changes if a bullet is hit to Guillorme. He can think about it.
Yeah. Well, he's playing just a step behind the bat.
Yeah.
Well, the middle infielders will have to go to first. And Realmuto fouls it off, 1-1. Well, Familia's in one of those spots where if he wants to get through this inning, he has to be thinking strikeout.
It's hard too, because probably the best contact hitter in their lineup for the Marlins is the man up at the plate with Bohr to follow.
Realmuto 21 strikeouts and 115 at bats. And he loops one shallow center. That's going to fall for a base hit. Rivera is in. Here comes Dietrich. Conforto's throw. The tag by Mesoraco. He's out at the plate. The Marlins tie the game, but Conforto guns down Dietrich trying to score the go-ahead run. Realmuto with the RBI single to tie the game at 1. But Conforto with a big-time throw to make sure the Marlins don't take the lead.
Well, it was a good send from Freddie Gonzalez. First, Realmuto jammed, so strong, able to get it out into center field. Pretty good read by Dietrich. So it's a great play by Conforto. Ball came up, one big hop, made it a little easier to make that throw. Watch the read. It's not too bad. A little pause, and then Dietrich takes off.
Cut the base perfectly. The ball just beat him.
Yep.
On the fly from Conforto. And they get Dietrich for the second out. Now the Mets have intentionally walked Justin Bohr. Realmuto took second on the throw to the plate, so that left first base open for the intentional pass to Bohr. And that'll bring Starlin Castro to the plate, trying to get that lead run home from second.
Key, that ball was hit so softly, but it had a big bounce up for Conforto to handle. It didn't stay dead on the ground.
So a blown save for Familia, his 4th this year. And now Castro with 2 out and 2 on. He's gone 0 for 4 tonight.
DeGrom doesn't get his 50th win and 21st time in his career. Bullpen has not held the lead when he had the win.
And in 18 times in his career, he's gone 7 innings, not allowed a run. That's the 5th time he hasn't gotten a win. That's amazing.
Yuck.
Castro takes first pitch slider for a strike. Familia has given up 3 straight hits. Single to Prado, double to Dietrich, and the blue pit to Real Muto that got the tying run in. Could have been worse. Familia now has a chance to get this game to the bottom of the 9th tie. Castro bounces one down to third, a foul ball, and it's 0-2. Castro 0 for 6 in his career against Familia. Oh, 2 to Castro. Too high.
Real Muto at second base, despite being a catcher, has good speed. Real good.
Oh, the best speed of any catcher in the game right now. One-two coming. Line left field, base hit. Real Muto around third. Nimmo unleashes the throw to the plate. Too late, and the Marlins have the lead. Starlin Castro comes through with an RBI single, the 4th hit of the inning against Familia, and the Marlins go in front 2-1.
Well, ahead in the count, 0-2, threw the ball up, didn't get a swing, and then tried to come inside with the sinker, but it was flat. No sink, just a little run inside, and Castro was able to handle it. Right. 2 outs, you're running.
Now Brian Anderson, who's already got 2 hits tonight. And the slider misses ball 1.
Watch Real Muto's reaction. 2 outs. You're getting that secondary lead. Any contact, you're running. And he runs very nicely. No play at the plate.
So a stunning turn of events in the 9th inning. And the Marlins have the lead. And now looking for more with Anderson. 2 sliders in a row to start him off, and he hasn't come close with either one. And now the Mets are going to get some further action up behind Familia before this game gets completely away. All Seawall just now starting to work. Jay Reese behind 2-0, and Anderson takes a strike. Familia's got 2 fine defensive plays made behind him in this inning. Gonzalez made that great play on Brinson to start the inning. Conforto threw out Dietrich at the plate. Nothing else has gone right.
I was saying about Familia using those strong legs to get through the ball. That gives him life on his fastball too, and he doesn't have that tonight.
Brad Ziegler, you saw up in the bullpen for Miami, their closer. And that slider in for a strike, and now it's 2-2 to Anderson. Mets will have Mesoraco, Gonzalez, and Guillorme due up in the bottom of the 9th. 2 runs home in the inning. 2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Anderson. And Anderson goes down swinging to end the inning. But a damaging inning for Familia and the Mets, as Miami rallies for 2 to take the lead. Real Muto with the tying hit, and then Starlin Castro puts Miami in front. A 2-out 2-strike base hit to drive in Real Muto with the go-ahead run. We go to the bottom of the ninth, 2-1 Miami. The 38-year-old sidearmer Brad Ziegler looks for his second save in 2 nights.
Yeah, the easiest of saves last night. 6 pitches only for Ziegler to get his 8th save.
4th blown save of the year for Jerry's Familia. Devin Mesoraco leads off the last of the 9th and takes ball 1 from Ziegler. Changes on the infield for Miami. Miguel Rojas has moved to first base. Yadiel Rivera comes in to play shortstop after pinch running. And a fastball in for a strike, 1-1. Ziegler got Guillorme, Conforto, and Bruce last night. Right back to Ziegler. And Mesoraco retired 1 away. Now Adrian Gonzalez, who has great career numbers against Ziegler. 5 hits and 7 career at bats. And he'll take a crack at the side armor.
Oh.
Just a bit inside.
Kerwin Danley was getting out of Dodge because Kerwin's history is that he's a big target. He'll get hit once a game, so he didn't want it. Getting out of there.
Two and out to Gonzalez. Got another left-hand hitter, Guillorme, on deck. And then the pitcher's spot. Mets still have Reyes, Flores, and Nito on the bench. Wilmer's got a bat. And now it's 3-0 to Gonzalez. So a guy who has hit Ziegler well. He's keeping the ball away from Adrian. And he's behind him 3-0. See if Adrian gets green lit here. Instead, he takes a strike, and it's 3-1.
Saw his delivery last night. Just bends over at the waist and delivers that ball from down under. Keeps the ball on the ground for the most part.
And Gonzalez bangs it back up the middle. He's got another hit against Ziegler, who just can't get him out. 6 for 8 now, and the Mets have the tying run aboard, and Reyes will run for Gonzalez.
You know, Ziegler only throws 85, 86 miles an hour, and they didn't shift the shortstop over. Very interesting call.
Well, it's the second time today that Gonzalez has hit one in a similar neighborhood. and got base hits. Here's Guillorme with Reyes at first, and he takes a strike. Guillorme 0 for 3 today, 2 strikeouts and a ground out. 0 for his last 11 after his stunning beginning. Remember, he went 3 for 3 to start his career. Wilmer Flores on deck to bat for the pitcher. Guillorme faced Ziegler last night and grounded out to first base. Taking a look down at Glenn Sherlock to see if maybe Reyes is going to be asked to steal in this spot. Slashed foul, and it's 0-2. Of course, by using Reyes to pinch run, you've taken your last left-handed option off the bench and left Flores up against the side armor after Guillorme. And Guillorme hits a slow ground ball. Rivera comes in. His play will be to first in time. And now the tying run is on second with 2 out. I don't know if he had a play at second base, but he made sure he got the sure out at first.
I thought he did.
Well, the most popular Mets will come to bat with a chance for another big 9th inning hit. April 15th, he had a walk-off home run.
Well, the crowd knows his history.
He also had a walk-off sacrifice fly on this homestand. 8 walk-off RBIs in his career, 1 behind David Wright's club record. But facing a very tough matchup here against the side armor Ziegler. And Wilmer takes a slider down for ball 1.
Most of the stuff is going to,
against it.
sorry, Gary. Most of the stuff is going to be down and away. Wilmer can shoot that right side again, like he did earlier in the series.
Tying run at second, 2 out. And a curveball in for a strike. There is such an expectation with Wilmer at the plate. The electricity buzzing through this building right now is almost that the folks here expect Wilmer to win the game. That's down to their final out, down 2-1 in the 9th. And Wilmer lays off. It's outside. Realmuto loaded up, but there was nobody covering at second. Ahmed Rosario would be next. Fred knows. Two 1 from Ziegler. Chopper. Ziegler can't get it. Anderson does. Throws out Flores, and the Marlins win it. A stunning loss for the New York Mets as the Marlins rally for 2 in the 9th against Familia after another brilliant performance by Jacob DeGrom. And the Marlins take the rubber game of the series from the Mets, winning tonight 2-1.
Well, the Miami Marlins, who have been struggling all year, take 2 out of 3. Jacob DeGrom, so brilliant over 7 innings. Probably didn't have his best stuff, but threw 7 shutout innings. And the Mets offense, other than the Nimmo home run, non-existent.
So a homestand that began 5-1 finishes on a big down note. Mets were beaten last night 5-1 and beaten in stunning fashion tonight 2-1 as Anderson able to throw out the slow-footed Flores to end the game. And Miami, which came in to the series in last place in the National League East, takes 2 out of 3 from the Mets in this series to close out the homestand. Game summary brought to you by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Realmuto and Castro with RBI hits against Familia in the top of the 9th. After the Mets got brilliant pitching from Jacob DeGrom for 7 innings. He lowered his ERA to 1.54, best in the National League. But a no decision for Jake tonight and a win for the Marlins 2-1. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.